Hi, Centenary. How are we doing? You know, I got to thinking of one of my favorite Bible stories the other day. I may have told this to you before. In fact, I may have told this to you before a lot of times. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's found in the book of 2 Kings, the 6th chapter. It's the story of Elijah. And in this story, the king of Aram had decided to go to war against the king of Israel. But every time he got his plans made and he knew where he was going to attack and he had this surprise all ready to go, well, Israel already knew about the plans and they were ready for them. And the king of Aram got all of his military officers together and he was mad. And he said, "There's a spy in our camp." And this officer said, "No, sir, there's not. There's no spy in our camp. The problem is there's a prophet in Israel. And every time you decide to do something, God tells their prophet, and their prophet tells their king." Well, the king of Aram thought about this for a while, and he said, "Well, where is this prophet?" And they said, "Well, he lives in the city of Dothan." And so the king of Aram says, "Well, we're going to go and we're going to get him. We'll kill the prophet of Israel, and we'll be able to defeat the armies of Israel." So they went and they surrounded the city of Dothan. Now, they were there surrounding that city the next morning when Elisha's servant got up and he went outside of the house to get something, maybe prepare breakfast. And as he looked up, he saw all of these Arameans on their horses and their chariots and ready for battle. And he immediately got real scared because he knew they were here for him and his master Elijah. He went back into the house and he says, "Oh, master, we're in trouble now. The entire Aramean army is all around us." I love what Elisha said. This is from 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 10. Elisha said, let's try finding the right passage, huh? Here it is. 2 Kings 6:16, Elisha said, "Don't be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And the servant went back outside under the urging of Elijah. And he looked up and he saw surrounding every soldier, every horse, every chariot of the Arameans was the army of God. And he knew that they were safe. Now the story goes on. If you want to read that, it is a beautiful, wonderful story to read. But I want to stop right there because sometimes you and I feel the way that servant must have felt. Like this pandemic has got us surrounded, like we're outnumbered, we're outmatched, and we're outgunned, and any which way we go, we feel like we're going to get hurt. I remember back in March when they first asked us to shelter in place, they first asked us to close the church, and I felt angry, and I felt like, well, I wanted us to meet together, and I wanted us to be together, and I wanted this, and I felt all of these emotions, strong emotions. And then just recently, our governor told us we could begin to open up the churches again. Now, you need to know our bishop has asked us to wait a little longer, and we're going to have to follow the bishop. That's what we do as Methodists. But when they began to ask us if we wanted to open up again, I began to feel again a little bit of fear. Are we ready? I don't want anyone getting sick. And oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And those are my feelings. And my feelings were all over the place. In fact, when we follow those kinds of feelings, I have a phrase for that. I call that feelings driving the bus. See, sometimes our feelings can cause us to act in, well, if we're honest, kind of silly ways. Let me give you an example from a long time ago. Long ago, even before Cheryl and I were married, we went to see a movie. It was the movie Jaws, the very first one. And we went to see that movie, and if you've seen it, you know that's a rather intense movie. Well, we got home, and as I was walking her up to the door to drop her off at her house, I saw the garden hose. Church, the garden hose. And all I could think of was water. And I took a wide path around that garden hose. Now tell me if that's not silly. I mean, first off, sharks are saltwater creatures, not freshwater creatures. He couldn't survive in a garden hose. And if he did get in a garden hose, how big is he going to be? And how much of a danger is a shark that size going to be? But see, that was my feelings being in control. That was my feelings driving the bus. My feelings driving me. So what do we do? What do we do? Well, did you notice what Elijah did? The first thing Elijah did was he asked God to open his servant's eyes so his servant could see the truth. And that's the first thing you and I want to do when our feelings begin to drive the bus. We want to look for the truth. Not what do we feel, because feelings just tell us what we feel. They don't tell us what's true. We want to look for the truth. What's the truth of the matter? And where do we look for that? We've got some great church leadership that's helping us prepare for that kind of an opening where we can be back together. We look to them. We look to the Center for Disease Control. We look to our medical personnel. We find the truth. What's the truth? What do we need to do here? How can we still meet together and be safe? And we listen to the truth. What do we do next? Well, the next thing we do is we pray. We pray and we talk to God about our feelings. See, our feelings aren't good or bad. They're just our feelings. So we talk to God about them and say, God, here's how I'm feeling. Now, this feeling is not right or wrong. It's just a feeling, God. But I don't want my feelings driving the bus. Lord, I want you to be in charge. I want to be following you. I want you to be driving the bus. And so we pray, asking God to be the Lord of our lives, to watch over us, to guide us. That's what Elijah did. That's what you and I are going to do through these days of pandemic. We're going to acknowledge our feelings, but we're going to acknowledge that they're not truth. They're just feelings. We're going to ask God, the truth, to lead us and guide us. All right, church? I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.